We're here today with musician Doug Smith. Doug Smith, how you doing today?
Really great. It's good to see you, Rebecca, and it's great to be up here in Nail Park.
All right, I have a few questions for you. Do you remember your first performance?
My first performance, like professional or just any age at all?
Any age.
Any age? Wow. I guess when I was in probably high school, we entered a talent show. We had a little kind of a sort of a 50s rock band, and it was called Stan and the Idlewilds, and we actually won the talent show. So that was a long time ago. I don't know. That was probably in the early 60s or late 50s.
Doug, what goes through your mind when you play your bass?
Well, I guess it depends on what kind of music I'm playing. One of my favorite kinds is totally improvised music. And when I'm doing that kind of music that's interactive with other musicians, I'm always listening to everyone else, trying to make the group sound better. Or if someone's playing something I like, I might not play a little bit. That's important sometimes too. And I always try to think of something different, something unique that maybe I haven't done before. And I also try to interact with the audience. The audience, even if they're not saying anything, you definitely feel the audience's vibe, and that definitely affects how you perform.
Okay, what's your favorite kind of music that you could have on your iPod?
I really have very, very diverse interest in listening to music. And even though jazz is part of a lot of what I do, I don't just listen to jazz. I often listen to classical music. I like a lot of gospel music. I do listen to jazz, of course. I listen to some pop music, some rap. I really like any music that's sincere, where the artist is really sincere about making it and creative, and isn't just commercial, just to do it like a cookie cutter thing. It really doesn't matter to me what kind it is, if it's country or blues or bluegrass. I even play some of that. The important part for me is that it's really sincere music, and that the musicians are really not even necessarily technically talented, but are playing from their soul, from their heart. That's what's important to me.
Doug, where do you regularly perform?
Well, I do quite a few different kinds of things, which is what I enjoy about music right now. At this point in my life, I'm able to do a lot of different things with a lot of different groups. My steady job is every Saturday night at a beautiful hotel in the Pocono Mountains called Skytop Lodge. And that's for dancing, but we have a Steinway piano and we do some older swing tunes and a few more modern things for people to dance to, all different age groups. We perform at the AFA Gallery for the Drawing Social on some Sunday evenings, and that's totally different than the band at Skytop. That's almost completely improvised music sometimes, or maybe a little bit of it is written out, and that's a lot of fun. I also have a Dixieland band, which is going back to the early 1900s and playing that kind of early swing music. And sometimes I play, I actually have a big band, a 16-piece big band, and we perform sometimes with the big band. Actually right here in Nayog Park, over at the gazebo in front of the museum, there's a summer concert series every Sunday at 2, and we usually do 1 or 2 of those performances too.
Okay, Doug, if you had a time machine, what year would you go to?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I do think about that sometimes. I always wondered if time travel was possible. Probably both directions. I'd probably have a couple. When I was little, I always wanted to go back and see the dinosaurs. So that's something I'd like to do, as long as I could survive and be safe. And I would like to travel back to the early 1920s or so, 30s in Scranton. There was so much work for musicians. All the vaudeville theaters were going strong, and there were probably like 20 or 30 bands working every weekend. And that was a time that was really, really great for music in Scranton, and some of the other arts. I would have enjoyed visiting that and living through that. And going into the future, I'm kind of a science fiction guy, so I would like to just go skip around the future and just see what's in store for us. Hopefully we're still here.
Now, do you just have one bass, or do you have a few?
I have a few basses. Not a lot of basses. Some guys that don't play as much as I do have a lot of basses. But I have 2 acoustic upright basses that I play. One's a German bass called a Pullman, P-O-L-L-M-A-N, and that I use mostly inside when I'm playing with my regular jazz group or the Dixieland band. Then I have a bass that was made in this country. It's a K bass, K-A-Y, and it's a plywood bass, but it's set up so I can play acoustically outside a lot louder than my other bass. So I'll use that bass. We actually do a cool job. We play on the train sometimes, and we play on the train trip from Steamtown to Pioneer Days in Carbondale. I'll always play that bass there because it's a lot louder and you can hear it really well. Then I have some electric basses. I have a mid-60s Fender bass that I use almost all the time for my electric bass jobs. And I have a couple other. I have an old Beatles Hofner bass, kind of a collector thing. And a few other electric basses that are just kind of backups in case I need them, but that's about it.
And how did you decide on playing the bass? Was it like your first instrument that you thought, I should play this, or?
It sort of, I actually played trumpet all through high school, and a little bit of piano. But we had a really good music teacher. I went to a little town called Newfoundland, Pennsylvania, and we had a music teacher named Jack Stripcheski, and he was a really good jazz trombonist. So he was always teaching us about jazz, and he actually took us to jazz concerts around, like outside of the school. He was really good that way. So I developed an early interest in jazz, and he put together a little jazz group at the school, and I played trumpet in it for a while, but we had no bass player. And I always liked the lower instruments. I always liked baritone sax, trombone, bass. So he bought a bass for the school, and he just said, why don't you Doug, just give it a try and see what you think, and I fooled around on it. And I really liked it. So he taught me the basics, not to make a pun, and I stuck with it. I've been playing it all my life.
Okay, Doug Smith, thanks for coming out today. It's been a pleasure. And you have revealed so much about yourself. You know, I'm really blown away by how much I know about you now.
Well, it's always fun to do little interviews like this, and you did a really good job. You had really good questions, and I felt very comfortable talking with you. It's funny, but when people ask you questions, you often give answers that you might not have even thought about yourself. It like makes you, realize things about yourself that you might not have ever expressed or, put into words. So it was fun to do that too. I probably learned a little bit about myself too.
Okay, Doug, how do you like your coffee?
Well, I don't drink coffee because it makes me really jittery, and I love coffee ice cream though. I like coffee ice cream. Is that enough, you think? Okay.
I'm the lady behind the camera. He's the man behind the bass.
And this is Tapia.
And this is Doug Smith. Welcome to Behind the Bassist, Behind the Scenes. We're here today on location at Nayog Park. So Doug, what do you think of Behind the Bassist?
So far, so good. I'm enjoying today. It's so beautiful out. It's nice and cool. A lot of people here at the park. Good light, I think. Picked a good spot.
I asked you so many questions, and did anything get you off guard?
Maybe the coffee question. Well, like I said on the interview, what I enjoyed was making me think of things that I hadn't really put into words, things that might go through my mind that you don't really put into words about playing. That was probably the most enjoyable part of it, or the most unique part of it for me.
I was kind of nervous asking the questions. You were my first interview, but I'm glad I picked you out of all the musicians I know. It was really fun.
Well, I'm glad you picked me too, because I enjoy working with you and enjoy hanging out. It was a nice day.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoy the sound, the background sound, the birds chirping, and I think we even have birds and kids screaming in the background today.
Yeah, it does give a nice, alive ambiance to the film. The parts that you showed me already, I think, came out really well. And even though the camera's a little bit farther away, we don't have a separate microphone, I think it still gives it a nice alive, like a real effect, like you're really there.
Yeah, it does really sound okay. Considering we are outside, we're not on a closed set, but I love nature. I love being out in nature.
Yeah, me too. The little boy just went through here with his remote control car, right down into the road.
You never know what's going to happen in the park.
Never know. That's right.
Well, I interviewed you because I really like the talent that we have in northeastern Pennsylvania. There's tons of talent here, and I'm basically spreading the word and letting people know that there's so much talent.
Yeah, we are fortunate. I think this area has an unusually high amount of talented artists of all, not just music, but all different kinds of talent, and really high quality talent, I think, too, visually and music and dance, everything. I've always admired your work as a still photographer, and I could see that you brought that into the video part of your work now, because you've got a good concept of what is art visually. So that's half the battle with video. You're not just documenting it; you're trying to make it, look artistic. Do you think of it any differently doing video than you did when you do still photography?
I don't think of it as any different. I think videography is a little harder to capture the moment and just be in the present moment. Pictures are more spontaneous for me. I just love to lay on the ground and aim up at things, and yeah, it's just videography for me is just more planned.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think things are gonna go well in this part of your career. Hopefully, you can get some sponsors to get some fancier equipment, and I think you'll be successful because you're really dedicated to your art. I know that from our past history and all the work we've seen. So I'm glad to see you going in this direction. I think it's going to be a nice addition to the artistic world here in Scranton.
Well, I hope you enjoyed Behind the Bassist. Yeah, you, talking to you.
And I also hope you enjoyed it.